we've looked at thousands of calls, actually tens of thousands of calls. And what we've seen is some consistency that for agencies that either don't have a QA program or an effective one, where they have us audit and we provide that feedback back to the agencies, we've actually determined that there are 9 reasons why they should be doing quality improvement. And some of them are pretty obvious, as you might expect. For example, the first reason that we have is improvements to patient care. Everybody pretty much understands that the goal of a quality improvement program is to improve the care provided to the patient in the street. So that's obviously one. Another item is improved system performance, because as you do a proper quality improvement program, you're going to recognize that there are a whole lot of processes within your EMS agency that may not work optimally. And those problems ultimately result in problems. About 90% of the calls that are considered problematic out in the street, ultimately the result of that problem happened before the truck even rolled a wheel. It was a bad policy, bad education, bad orientation program. There was something else that transpired that caused those EMTs or paramedics to perform the way they did that really isn't related to them performing poorly. It's something else that can be fixed within your system. So really, a good quality improvement program will not only look at patient care issues directly, but it will also look at the causes of those, which will help you to create policies, procedures, and other in-house rules and regulations that will help to improve the ultimate patient care in the street. Additionally, a good quality improvement program will help you in your revenue stream as well. As you know, the regulations for Medicare, Medicaid, and other insurers are very strict nowadays. And we noticed that EMTs and paramedics really don't consider the financial or revenue impact on the things that they do in the street. If they are also bad for the patient, they're probably also bad for your revenue stream. For example, we see cases where paramedics or EMTs will go out and they'll get a patient refusal sign on a patient that they probably should have transported. And ultimately, that refusal wasn't executed properly. So in some cases, patients didn't even have the legal right to sign a refusal, and yet they were allowed to refuse. Not only is that bad for patient care, potentially, but it also minimizes your revenue because that could have resulted in a transport, which would have resulted in revenue for your department. So a good QA program is also going to help your revenue stream as well. Well, if your quality improvement program is working properly, it really should be doing a variety of functions for you. Besides improving patient care, you're really attempting to provide the proper feedback to your field providers so they know exactly what they should be doing and in some cases what they shouldn't be doing. So really, a good CQI program is about helping your providers do the best they can, which reduces risk to them. Risk that they could get sued, risk that they could do something improper for the patient, risk that OEMS or some other regulatory body would come in and actually criticize the care that was provided. So really, you want to provide those protections for your field providers by having a CQI program that is non-punitive, that's educational, that will help them to perform better. That same rule applies to the agency itself. If you're providing care that's suboptimal and something bad should occur, your agency stands to be at risk not only financially and legally, but more importantly, in this day and age, there's a good chance it's going to hit the front page of your local newspaper, and it makes your service look terrible, even if the accusations are not true. And your CQI program should preemptively try to find and fix those issues before they become seriously problematic. And the same goes for the patient, obviously. If you have a good program, it actually looks to potential errors and potential problems and addresses those before they become real problems for the patient. Girard & Associates is based in Massachusetts, and we have a number of clients in Massachusetts. So some of the regulatory requirements in terms of quality improvement are specific to the state that we work in. However, every state has some variation, or in most cases, has some variation of having some sort of quality improvement mechanism to make sure that care is being provided as it should be. In Massachusetts, it's required that every ALS agency have a quality improvement program. The problem is, as in many states, is that there aren't any rules or regulations as to how they should do that. So the regulation is clear they should have a program, but how they should run that program, what they should do with it, the benefits of the program, all of that is left to the imagination of the agency trying to accomplish that task. So you have very little support there in terms of what you should be doing as an agency to do quality improvement. And that's where Girard & Associates can help. Typically, when we get a client in another state, and we have clients in other states besides Massachusetts, one of the first things we look to is to see what the regulation is pertaining to that state's quality improvement requirements. And as I mentioned, in many cases they're somewhat weak, and the program that we provide supersedes pretty much anything that we've seen on a statewide basis. So we typically don't have to go in and create anything different related to running the CQI program. However, it's important to know what the rules and regulations are for that agency so that we can advise them properly. Again, in this day and age, there are all sorts of agencies that have some sort of oversight into the EMS agency's responsibilities. And more recently, we've seen from the federal government the NEMSIS program. And every state has a similar program by which they need to collect EMS agencies' run report data, refine it in some fashion, use it for their own statewide quality improvement initiatives, and then forward that data to the NEMSIS program. These types of programs now are able to collect your information electronically, and they're able to generate reports and all sorts of information off of your run report data to determine whether you're providing the care as you should be. Since your regulatory agencies have that data and their responsibility is to make sure that you're performing properly, your agency really needs to have a continuous quality improvement program where you can identify problems before somebody comes to you and tells you that you have a problem. Another reason to develop a continuous quality improvement program is in the event that you do have an adverse patient outcome, you are going to need to show the legal system and the regulatory agencies what you have for systems in place to try to prevent and or detect those issues before they occur. For example, if there is a legal review of your call, one of the questions may be, has this problem occurred before? Has this provider been having this problem routinely in the past? Did it get detected and did it get fixed? And you really want to make sure that you can show to any agency that's investigating your EMS program and a potential adverse patient outcome that you do have a system in place for catching and correcting potential problems. We see this as well with the regulatory agencies who are tasked with coming into your agency to do an investigation should they hear that there was an adverse patient outcome. And typically when those bodies come in to do an investigation, they want to see that you have something in place to try to catch this. In fact, they want to see that your CQI program caught the problem already and that you already have begun working on fixes to that before they even come in to do their investigation. If you don't have that in place, they typically take a dim view of that, and oftentimes it can result in more harsh sanctions or penalties from that agency. There's a relatively new term that's been floating around in recent years called paying for quality. And this has come about from insurers, federal government in particular, Medicare, Medicaid, and even private insurers, who are looking to begin paying for only high-quality patient care, not just in EMS, but also in healthcare. In fact, hospitals and physicians are now required to report quality data to the federal government or to these third-party insurers. And if they do not meet acceptable standards of care, they are seeing either diminished revenue or in some cases are not being reimbursed at all for patient care that occurred based on an error that occurred first from that agency. So we're likely to be seeing in the future, in fact, it's already starting to evolve in other parts of the healthcare system, where insurers are paying for high quality, but they are limiting or decreasing payment for low quality agencies. If you're a progressive EMS agency and you want to get ahead of this, you don't want to wait until you see your revenue begin to drop for certain issues, then you really need to get your CQI program up and running and make sure that it's effective so that as these things start to hit, you have nothing to worry about. And probably the biggest reason to start a QA program, the most important, is it's just the right thing to do. We all got an EMS to take good care of patients, to treat patients properly, and to transport them to a facility where they can get further medical care. If you run an EMS system or involved in an EMS system that is not doing quality assurance, then you're really not ensuring that the patient is getting everything they need and being treated to the best of your ability or your agency's ability. It's just the right thing to do, and it's something that we can help you with at Girard & Associates.
Claim your complimentary copy of EMS CQI, Who Needs It and Why, at GirardCQI.com.